When the presidential debate was held in Abuja this past week, just ahead of the Nigerian elections, one of the candidates was missing. Typically, when that happens, it's the incumbent's chair that goes empty because if you're in power, a poor debate performance can cost you your job. So incumbents tend to want to limit their exposure. But that's not what happened in this case. President Goodluck Jonathan was there. It was his main rival, Muhammadu Buhari, refusing to take part. The debate was going out on one of Nigeria's most watched channels, Africa Independent Television, AIT. And Buhari's party has accused that channel of blatant partisanship, of being in President Jonathan's corner. So he boycotted the debate. This election was supposed to happen February 14th, but was postponed by the government, ostensibly to secure the Northeast from Boko Haram and guarantee the safety of voters there, although that rationale has been subject to debate as well. For journalists, this delay has meant another 6 weeks of trying to get around government censorship and pressure from other political parties on stories about corruption and security, as well as the dangers inherent in trying to cover the Boko Haram angle. In the run-up to voting day, there's been a backlog of visas for the foreign press, an indication that as far as the Jonathan government is concerned, the fewer reporters in there covering this story, the better. Our starting point this week is Abuja, the capital of Africa's most populous country. Five voices on the coverage of the Nigerian election. A spokesman for President Jonathan's party, the PDP. His opposite number, the communications director for the Buhari campaign, and the APC. The journalist turned author who once worked for Buhari. The journalist with a Nigerian news outlet that is based in New York, beyond the reach of the Nigerian authorities. And the managing director of AIT, the channel the opposition says is siding with the government, which is why the incumbent's main rival, Muhammadu Buhari, refused to appear on the presidential debate the channel broadcast live. The accusations against AIT center around the channel's election coverage, and this documentary in particular. Called The Real Buhari, it was an hour-long polemic aired on AIT that went well beyond the candidate's track record.
A man whose military regime became the first to sentence a woman to death by firing squad. Ramrod, stiff, never smiling. Only the future should matter, and nothing about him speaks to Nigeria's future.
We would have taken a position of any forum, any platform, to sell our candidate and our party. But definitely we were not ready to walk into a boo-boo trap, because we saw those who were organizing this debate as crassly partisan. And incidentally, many Nigerians agree with us also, because they've seen the kind of documentary that have been run against our leaders, so they did not see that platform as non-partisan.
A station like AIT, they've made it known that they are pro-Jonathan. I honestly cannot point at any instance, at least during this election period, that they've tried to be fair. I'm not defending the opposition party, but they've run an image-damaging documentary about the main presidential candidate of the opposition. They ran one about another member of that party. If they don't see anything wrong that the ruling party members have done, then they are not being fair.
We are not pro any party. I drive the wheel of professionalism in this organization, and I do not have any mandate to support anybody. Don't forget that we have quite a handful of political parties in Nigeria. Some of these parties are not equally endowed. There are parties that can't even pay for one advertisement slot. So if PDP, as the ruling party, tend to have more airplay, they say who pays the piper. I mean, they probably have more money to throw around as the party in power. It's a case of, which side of the divide are you?
I don't see any clear divides. We've had a media, that's balanced stories, okay? We've had a media that's given everybody fair hearing. I have been on most of the media shows, and I've not seen any hostility. I've been given, some fair hearing. So I want to disagree that the media is clearly divided. No, it's not, no.
There have been allegations aplenty of checkbook journalism in Nigeria, involving not just the people at the top of major media outlets, and not just during this campaign. An ever-present issue in domestic news coverage is bribery, what Nigerians call the culture of the brown envelope.
Let's say I'm interviewing a senator, you are the senator, and then at the end of it, you give me a brown envelope, I probably won't want to make you look bad when the video comes out, because some people say it's just like expressing their gratitude, whatever, but still, it's not ethical.
I'm not saying that some Nigerian journalists are not corrupt. Most media houses in Nigeria owe their workers sometimes up to 10 months, and they expect them to go to work every day. The people they interview understand this. So it is not very difficult to induce a Nigerian journalist. But he won't be the first person doing that in the Nigerian situation. Other professions are also as guilty.
You also need to understand the situation of so many of the journalists. And you also need to remember that journalism is not a profession that is well paid.
International news outlets are much better funded, but many of their journalists have been denied the visas they need to cover this story. According to the chief foreign correspondent at the British paper, The Telegraph, 20 media outlets in the UK have been left on the outside looking in, waiting for the paperwork to clear. Nobody has actually been refused outright, he wrote, but given that the process normally takes only a week, and given that my application went in 2 months ago, I'm beginning to think the Nigerian government doesn't want me there. Having their credentials in order did not stop 2 journalists from Al Jazeera English getting arrested in Borno, one of the 3 northern states most affected by the Boko Haram insurgency. Ahmed Idris and Ali Mustafa were detained for what the Nigerian army called loitering in a military zone. They were placed under house arrest of a sort in their hotel. Like almost all journalists, they've been restricted from covering the same insurgency the government cited when it postponed the election in the first place. That's the Nigerian media story as the country finally heads to the polls. A debate that a central figure boycotts because of a lack of trust in the channel that broadcast it. A culture of bribery, an ethical shortfall related to a shortage of money. And a scarcity of outside voices, thanks to the government and a bureaucracy that keep them out. What isn't lacking is interest in what's expected to be the closest election in Nigeria since 1999, when military rule came to an end.
Never have Nigerians been more interested in having a free and fair election. So everybody is interested, everybody is involved. But the Nigerian media, all these television stations and media outfits are owned by individuals. And those individuals have their political leanings, and as the saying goes, he who pays the piper dictates the tune.
On the download this week, our reviewers on the coverage of the political story in Nigeria.
With the glaring evidence of bias being displayed by most mainstream traditional media outlets in Nigeria, Nigerians are having to resort to self-help mechanisms. The internet, particularly Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp, are now very popular as news outlets. The unfortunate part of it is that the news you get from these outlets are not corroborated. I mean, it's sensational news.
Nigerians go to Leadership and Sahara reporters for their independent, unbiased information. They seem to do more fact-checking when it comes to their sources, but more importantly, seem to get more accurate information out that is often verifiable.